Hello and a very good morning to everyone. Welcome to the daily current affairs analysis of the Shankar IAS Academy, and today's video is for the date of 27th of June 2025. So these are the topics for discussion. So the first two articles are from mains perspective and rest of the 5 articles are from prelims perspective. So the first article discusses about citizenship concerns in India. The next article discusses about urban heat comparison to the bird population. So here the third article discusses about GST Council and their meeting to reduce the 12% slab. The next article discusses about the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, which should be scheduled after 6 years. The fifth article discusses about the chemotherapy generic medicines which had failed quality tests, and most of them are from India. And the next article discusses about the state of economy by the RBI, sign of development in industrial as well as in economic terms. And the last article discusses about the basics of the Oslo records in comparison with recent Iran and Israel's issue. So without any delay, let's get into the articles discussion one by one, and all of these articles are taken both from Hindu as well as from the Indian Express. Moving to the first news here, pilgrims visit Mount Kailash Mansarovar after 6-year wait. So why it is in the news? Because the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, which is known as KMY, resumed in 2025 after 6 years suspension, and this was due to COVID-19 and also a lot of India-China border tensions and delegations. So this revival marks cultural importance and also diplomatic. It fades away diplomatic thaw between India and China as a soft policy to bring in engagement. So here the first group of 36 Indian pilgrims completed the trek. So let's look into the details about the Kailash Mansarovar. It is located in Tibet Autonomous Region of China. The Mount Kailash mountain is located in the Trans-Himalayan range, specifically to the Kailash range, which lies in the northern of our graded Himalayas. So Mount Kailash has 6,638 meter height, and Lake Mansarovar is located in Mount Kailash, which is known as Mapam Yamso. And this trek is organized by Ministry of External Affairs under the KMY. So these are the routes through Uttarakhand and through Sikkim through the Nathula Pass and also through Lippo Lake. So these are the details. It comes under the Trans-Himalayan mountain system. The sub-range is Kailash range. Location is the Tibet's Autonomous Region of China, and the nearby lakes are Lake Mansarovar and Lake Rakshastan. So looking into the religious and cultural significance, for Hindus it is one of the important abode of Lord Shiva, and for Buddhists they are home for Mount Meru, which is known as spiritual axis of the universe, and for Jains it is the moksha site of Rishabh Deva, one of the first Tirthankara of Jainism attained moksha in the Mount Ashtapada. So here looking into the Bond religion, so it is one of the indigenous religion of Tibetan. It is one of the sacred center in Bond cosmology. So in Mount Kailash, parikrama or the circumambulation, one of the key ritual which would be conducted to mark their religious and cultural significance. So this is a map. Now looking into reception timeline, that is the starting again timeline. So first it was halted in 2020 due to COVID and Galwan clash, and also there were disengagement at Demchok and Depsang in 2024. So Demchok and Depsang are both in the near the line of actual control, that is the LAC. Demchok is in Tibet, whereas Depsang is near the Aksai Chin. So there are also high-end talks between the National Security Advisor as well as the Finance Minister of China, and also during the BRICS meeting. So here after a lot of deliberations, the Ministry of External Affairs have confirmed resumption in 2025 after Foreign Secretary's visit. So these are the Yatra details. So the duration is for almost a month, that is 23 to 25 days, June to September. Eligibility would be Indian citizens aged 18 to 70 who are medically fit. Cost is 2 lakhs per person, and online registration are available through Ministry of External Affairs portal with draw of lots. So looking into the routes overview, the routes are for the trek would include Lippo Lake Pass, Uttarakhand, which is traditional intensive trekking intensive, which is almost 200 km and managed by Common Mandal Vikas Nigam. So next is Nathula Pass of Sikkim. So it has motorable range till the base, easier for the elderly, and managed by Sikkim Tourism Development Corporation. And next is Nepal private route through Nepal Gung. Here less preferred due to cost as well as infrastructure. Now looking into their significance, it's a symbol of soft diplomacy and cultural renewal, and it also boosts India-China people-to-people ties, cultural importance, and religious milestone for multiple faiths. So here for India, it's a developing viewpoint at Dachula near Lipu Lake. So I hope the article is clear. Let's see the prelims practice question. Which of the following passes are used for Kailash Mansarovar Yatra from India? So option is A, that is 1 and 2, Nathula Pass and Lipu Lake Pass. So the next article is about the state of our economy. So why it is in the news? Here in this state of elevated lot of global uncertainties and various high frequency indicators, especially for the May of 2025, point towards more resilient economic activity in India across the industrial and service sectors. So this elevates the development of economic sector of the state of India, so known as the state of the economy, and this is by the RBI bulletin article. So let's look into the key highlights. First is looking into a economic growth. So for the financial year of 2025, the real GDP has been estimated a growth on 6.5% according to the National Statistics Office of provincial estimates. So here provincial estimates are primary or preliminary GDP figures where it is released after incorporating the last, that is the quarterly 4 data, making them more reliable than earlier advanced estimates. So this according to the provincial estimates is one of the primarily estimate of GDP. So that is taken into the account and it is estimated at 6.5%, which is a real increase. So looking into the quarterly 4 of financial 2025 growth, which is almost 7.4%. So there has been a rise of 6.4% in the quarterly year of 3, driven by lot of factors. So let us look the factors. First is the private consumption. So private final consumption expenditure, so basically known as private consumptions, contributed to almost 4% to GDP. Next is the GFCF, that is the gross fixed capital formation, that is the fixed investments. So they have increased or contributed to almost 2.4%, surged to almost 9.4% from 5.2. So here the GFCF refers to the total value of a country's investment in fixed assets like buildings, machinery, infrastructure and equipment over a period of time, excluding the land purchases and the depreciation. So you can see how these economic growth have given their contribution, especially for industrial and service sectors, bringing in a resilient state of economy in our country India. So looking into other external sectors, for the factors as net exports bring in highest contribution to GDP since quarterly 2 of financial year of 2021 despite global challenges. Now the third factor would be inflation and monetary conditions. Looking into the consumer price index inflation. So here we all know what is inflation, and looking into the CPI shows how expensive things are getting for people like you and me, from food and fuel to clothes and medical care. So this is the consumer price index inflation, so which is the consumers index for inflation. So here this inflation fell to almost 2.8% in May 2005, lowest since February 2019, which is below RBI's target of 4% for 4 months. So this brings in more managing of monetary policy as well as liquidity, which is good, but also at the same time it has its effect on demand and supply. Next is looking into financial conditions, where it's supportive and improved credit has been uptaken to post rate cuts. So looking into next indicator, which is the high frequency indicators, that the positive trends is there has been increase of e-way bills, that is through digital payments, tolls and GST almost 2 lakh crore. And one of the mixed trends is there has been a decrease in urban demand such as passenger car sales, and also the rural demand has been increased such as two-wheeler sales. Looking into next foreign investments, the FDI for April 2025 have been increased to almost 2x, and for the year of 2020 to 24, almost 100 billion greenfield digital investments have been made, which is highest in global south, increasing integration of digital payments as well as through sustainability. And India here ranks 16th globally in FDI inflows. So these are the additional insights. Looking into GDP, the market value of all final goods and services in a period, which is released by NSO. The PFCE, it also reflects the household consumption, private consumption, which is almost 55 to 60% of our GDP, whereas GFCF, it measures the fixed capital creation, which is one of the important key for our future growths. So it also includes the investments. And now the RBI, India is one of these, India's central bank targets on 4% of CPI inflation and manages monetary policy and liquidity, as I told before. So these are the details of the RBI's record on how our India as a state of economy has been developing, especially through these industrial sectors. So I hope the article is clear. Let's move on to a prelims practice question. With reference to India's national and income accounting, consider the following statements. Private final consumption expenditure generally contributes more than 50% to India's gross domestic product at constant prices. Gross fixed capital formation measures the net addition to fixed assets after deducting depreciation. So we all know it is only option A. Statement 2 is wrong and statement 1 is right. So moving on to the third article, here echoes of Oslo Accord. Trump's Israel run, ceasefire puts him in the Nobel spotlight. So here the only time Nobel Prize has been awarded for brokering peace in the Middle East was in 1994, when an unlikely trio offered glimmers of stability. So here, in account of the Israel and Iran ceasefire through Trump's mediation, there has been comparisons made with the Oslo Accord. So what is Oslo Accord? So here it is a landmark peace agreements between Israel and the Palestinian Liberation Organization. So it was the first formal mutual recognition between two sides aimed at resolving the Israeli and Palestinian conflict through negotiation. So here it has been divided into two parts. First is Oslo 1, which was signed in September 1993 in Washington DC, and next part was Oslo 2, signed in 1995 in Taba of Egypt. Secret negotiations have been held in Oslo, Norway, also for the Oslo Accord. So that's how the name came. So these are the key participants: the Yitzhak Rabin of Israel and Yasser Arafat of PLO, that is the Palestinian Liberation Organization, are the main signatories, and they were mediated by US President Bill Clinton. And it is famous for the symbolic handshake between Rabin and Arafat at the White House. So this is the image. So looking into the major provisions, first through the Oslo 1, there were mutual recognition. The Palestinian Liberation Organization recognized Israel's right to exist. Also, the Israel recognized the existence of PLO. And also the Palestinian Authority, that is the PA, was created for limited self-governance in both the in Israel and Palestinian conflict, and 5-year roadmap were to created to address the issue of Jerusalem, the refugees, settlements and borders, and security issues related to the place. So that was Oslo 1, and in Oslo 2 there were division of the West Bank. So there were three divisions, that is the area A, B and C. So here under area A there were full Palestinian and civil security control. So it includes almost these parts. In area B, in Palestinian civil and Israeli security control were present, which is almost these parts. And area C, which was full Israeli control, settlements and strategic areas. So this was the part area C. So this division of West Bank was intended as a temporary solution, but it is still largely in effect. So these are the details of the Oslo Accord, and let's look into the geographical details of Iran and Israel. So location, Iran is present in West Africa of the Middle East, and the size is 1.65 million square kilometers. So these are the bordering countries: Iraq, Turkey, Afghanistan, Pakistan, the Caspian Sea and the Persian Gulf. So looking into the terrain, mountains, they are known for Zagros, Albros, deserts and plateaus, and climate is arid and semi-arid, humid near the Caspian, cold in highlands, and strategic importance, they control the Strait of Hormuz. So this is the Strait of Hormuz which has been in the news recently, and rich in oil and gas. So looking into their water bodies, they include Caspian Sea, Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. Now looking into Israel's geographical location, they are located in eastern Mediterranean, and the size is 22,000 square kilometer. So the bordering countries are Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, Gaza Strip and Mediterranean Sea. And the terrain is coastal plains, central hills, Negev desert and Jordan Rift Valley. Looking into their climate conditions, they are Mediterranean nature of north, in the north and through the coastal areas, and arid in the southern areas. So looking into their strategic importance, they are at the crossroads of the three important continents: Africa, Asia and Europe. And looking into their water bodies, they include Mediterranean Sea, Dead Sea, Sea of Galilee and Jordan. So I hope we have seen the basics of the through the article. So now this is the prelims practice question. Consider the following statements regarding Strait of Hormuz. It connects the Persian Gulf with Arabian Sea. The Musundam Peninsula of the UAE forms the southern border of Strait of Hormuz, and Saudi Arabia forms the northern border of Strait of Hormuz. So which of these statements are right? Give your answer in the comment section. Moving to the next news here, the GST Council has set to discuss reducing items in the 12% slab. So these are the key agenda items we'll be discussing in the upcoming GST Council meeting. First is the rationalization of the 12% slab. So here a tax slab means it refers to a system where there are different income ranges, or they are known as slabs, where there has been taxation at different rates or amount. So it means according to our income increases, the rate of tax slab that we pay would also increase. So this is known as progressive system. And the goal is to simplify the GST rate structure, proposal to eliminate the 12% slab, and these are the likely structures would be included in the slabs. Next is tax relief for service intermediaries. So here intermediaries providing services to foreign clients would be having current change in their tax percentage. So currently they were taxed at 18% for even for export services, and now the change would be to remove the 18% GST. Next is to have pending insurance tax cut. So here tax cut means having a change in the tax law so that you pay less. So here there has been decision pending on insurance tax cut, and they are waiting for the panel's report. So these are the key agendas which would be discussed in the upcoming GST Council. Now let us have few basics about understanding about the GST Council. It is established under Article 279A through 101st Constitutional Amendment Act of 2016. So here the Article 279A deals with formation of GST Council, which is a constitutional body, which is important, and created to make recommendations on goods and services tax, that is the GST, and their role to decide on GST rates, exemptions, thresholds, laws and procedures. Now looking into their composition, the head person would be the chairperson, which is include our Union Finance Minister. Next it includes members, which includes members of the state in finance through central, as well as it includes the state finance ministers, also the union territories representatives. So these are the composition for the GST Council. Now looking into the decision rule, for center it needs to have 1/3 of vote, and for states it need to have 2/3 of vote, and or 75% of majority required. And the meeting frequency is at least once every quarter, that is Q1, Q2, Q3 or Q4. Looking into the significance, it ensures cooperative federalism, balances center states, fiscal or money relations under GST. So I hope the article is clear. Let's move to a prelims practice question. Which of the following taxes was not subsumed by GST? So here subsumed means to get merged or to get included. Excess duty, VAT, stamp duty or service tax. So here the answer is C, stamp duty. excess duty is tax on manufacturing of goods within India, and it is subsumed by GST. So it is included in the GST. Next is value added tax. It is the sale of goods within a state. Next is stamp duty. It is tax on legal documents like property sale or and property deeds. So it is not subsumed under GST. So still it is not a central subject, it is a state subject under entry 91 of the union list. And the service tax is the tax on provisions of services subsumed by GST. Now looking to the last prelims article about the substandard chemotherapy medicines in India. So here one of the study published as reported by Notre Dame University found that fifth of cancer drugs tested failed quality test out of 16 of the 17 implicated manufacturers are from India. So here the chemotherapy drugs made by Indian firms failed quality test, shows study, as they found that 20% of 189 test samples of chemotherapy drugs failed quality tests, as these drugs had 88 to 112% of the active ingredient, which is a breaching international norms. So here the drugs involved include essential WHO listed generic medicines like these, and these are affected drugs which are used for cancer treatment, especially for chemotherapy for cancers like breast cancer, leukemia or lymphoma, etc. So how it is important? Because of their global impact. They are distributed to almost 100 plus countries, which includes low income nations like Ethiopia and Malawi, and high income nations like US and UK. The cases were that medicines were found to be ineffective or toxic, and the patients are suffering of overdoses and mistreatment. So looking into why it is important on India specific, as it raises concerns, because India is the world's largest generic drug producer. So such weak regulatory enforcement by Indian companies which were flagged way earlier and also which had prior violations need to be taken into account. The Central Drug Standard Control Organization, which is India's national regulatory authority for all of the pharmaceuticals and medical devices. So here the CDSCO lacks capacity for consistent post-market quality checks. Thus, it fails the international norms present after its presence in the market. Now looking into the WHO's mechanism with gaps, here WHO essential medicines list has been expanded to cancer drugs in 2019, but it is still limited. And WHO's pre-qualification as well as the certification system, it lacks enforcement power, especially for the buyer nations. So these are the gaps found in WHO especially. So these are the root causes. First is price driven global market, since it's very cheap, poor oversight and cost cutting by some firms for its prevalence in the drug market in its cheapest amount. Next is regulators lack infrastructure to test drug quality. So countries like with the countries we have seen like Ethiopia and Malawi and high income nations, that is the low middle and income countries, have lacking for infrastructures to test the drug quality uh, during its market presence. So these are the important details when it comes to the substandard chemotherapy medicines in India. Now let's look into the prelims practice question. The WHO essential medicine list includes all essential chemotherapy drugs used for treatment cancers like leukemia and breast cancer. The WHO certifies the quality of all essential medicines before they are marketed in low and middle income countries. So the right answer is option D, neither one or two. It doesn't include all. So this is a very extreme statement, and again here is also all. Now moving on to the mains article. Here the article title Cause and Effect on Human Rights Citizenship Case highlights the citizenship issues which is still prevalent and contentious in Assam, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. So here migration, issues like migration, bringing in security concerns because of the migration and the citizenship issues and political narratives intersect throughout the discourses present, and it needs a larger attention. So here there are a lot of recent court interventions have been highlighted for the system to be lapsing and need a solution. These are the few judicial interventions. For example, case 1 in Assam, declared foreigner despite documents and family history. Next, the Supreme Court stayed the deportation, and it referenced 2024 judgment on due process. So the next case on Jammu and Kashmir, here a Pakistan national of 38 years old in India on a long-term visa was ordered repatriation, that is returning to their own country by by the High Court, citing human rights. So here, in taking in account of the recent political state, especially for India and Pakistan, and also our other northeastern states, and Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, in account of the recent global terrorism case, we all need to take in account of how there has been violation of citizenship, migration, security concerns, political narratives, and also how it is important to have concerns on these issues also, and importance of judicial interpretations for timely solutions. Now, what is the key issues found? First is procedural lapse. Here, the foreigners' tribunals lack transparency and legal aid, and the citizens are forced to prove their nationality with very little support given. Next is communal overtones. Here, the Constitution Amendment Act's exclusion of Muslims fosters discrimination, and also it has been there has been politicized narratives which are very deep in the societal roots, and it brings in a divide. So next is human rights concern. So the deportations violates the universal declaration of the human rights principles and dignity, and there are a lot of undocumented citizens who suffer from this human rights commission unjustly. So violation of human rights has been a prolonged issue when it comes to citizenship, migration, and security issues especially. Now, looking into the legal framework, first we all know Article 14 has been disturbed through the cases. Here, equality before law, and it also brings in concerns on Article 20, that is right to life and liberty. Next, it includes Foreigners Act of 1946. It used to declare foreigners, and the recent CAA, that is the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019, brought in controversial exclusions of different community members, and it brings issues on the citizenship as well as migration issues. So, looking into a way forward, first is to bring in a reform in the tribunals. Here, there need to be judicial oversight and transparency on the policies as well as reforms, bringing an inclusive policy, reviewing of the CAA for equity. Next is bringing in human-centric approach, compassion for long-term residents, including the long-term residents, or taking in account of their struggles, and documentation support, which is very very important. Here, bringing in aid for the vulnerable group for their documentation, and depoliticization is also one of the most important point, where the societal problems need to be away from the political problems and or its political influence. So here the citizenship must rise above merely identity politics, which are created because of lot of political discourses. So citizenship is a central right to dignity, justice, and nationhood for anyone. So here the courts have intervened, but there needs to be a systemic reform which is crucial, as the judicial interpretation needs to be fair and inclusive. Here the state also must uphold rule of law and human rights proactively. So this is the mains question. Concerns surrounding citizenship in India's border states have highlighted systematic challenges, legal ambiguity, and humanitarian issues. Discuss the implications of recent court interventions in such cases, and suggest measures to ensure justice and uphold human dignity. So bring your answers in the comment section. Now moving on to the last mains article. Here, when cities have trees that don't belong, the birds notice. So here there has been a new study found by Bengaluru's Biodiversity, which is more clustered in areas with less heat, while heat islands had low diversity. So it brings in the importance of climate resilience and climate resistance, and also climate sustainability. So according to the Indian Institute of Human Settlements, which comes under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, have brought in their findings. So here they have used the methodology or a research method, where they use the bird data from eBird, which is a citizen science platform and combined with satellite data to map urban heat distribution and the green cover present according to the present of the birds. So here the key findings is higher bird diversity in cooler areas. Heat islands showed reduced bird species richness. Almost 77% of trees are exotic, less supportive of the native birds. So all are, it's not mostly indigenous, and some birds have thrived in areas with less tree cover, especially those for open habitats. So these are the key findings which brings in the most importance of climate change. Looking into major causes for this rising temperature is climate change. First, higher baseline temperatures without the tree cover, especially in tropical regions. Next is rapid urbanization. Here, natural landscapes are replaced by heat trapping concrete, which increases the urban island heat. Next is decline in native green cover, loss of vegetation that helps to cool the cities, especially cities, metropolitan cities, which are home for a lot of urbanization, modern urbanization, which includes transportation, industries, and sectors. Next is dominance of exotic trees. So, exotic trees are not indigenous trees. Here we saw 77% of trees in Bengaluru are non-native. So loss of open wetland ecosystems, especially since it's a landlocked country, a landlocked place. Here grasslands and wetlands replaced by development especially. So here this is how the urban heat island works, especially for areas rural, suburban residential, commercial, city and urban residential, park, suburban residential and rural farmland. So you can see these spikes in the urban heat island, especially for different places in your city. Now impact on bird population. So here the lower bird diversity in heat islands brings in lesser impact on climate change. The native and diverse habitats like wetlands and grasslands support more species. The exotic trees offer limited ecological value, which is very important here, and also ecological services. Physiological stress on birds, reduced reproduction and loss of food sources, so it can have a direct impact on the uh, food chain. And mismatch in conservation, here more trees is not equal to better for all birds, since the more trees are mostly exotic trees and not native trees, and habitat loss can cause local extinction of sensitive and important species. So what are the major challenges in addressing this crisis? First is over dependence on tree planting without considering the habitat type of the surrounding. Using of non-native species harmful to biodiversity and less effective for cooling. Next, ignoring the historical land usage, which leads to poor restoration outcomes and sustainability. Next is fragmentation of the open habitats like grasslands and wetlands, and not make much use of for its ecological value. And next is social and ecological inequalities. So poor communities face more heat stress and lack green access compared to higher income communities. So here step to address this crisis is to plant first native species suited to local climate and wildlife, to have a data understanding and research on the surrounding, restoring and protecting wetlands, grasslands and open habitats, since especially for Bangalore it is taking in account of the sea level. Next is based planning on ecological history of the city, and on also its infrastructure planning. Set biodiversity goals in urban planning processes for more sustainability. Ensure equitable access to green spaces, especially in vulnerable areas, for all people, and use a mixed greening approach to combine parks, gardens, wetlands and street greenery in many infrastructures such as offices, schools and so on. So urban heat is one of the most rising concerns, especially in today's generation, and biodiversity loss, it requires restoring the native habitats, avoiding exotic plantations, ecology based inclusive planning. So we need a balanced approach to make cities a more sustainable and a cooler place to live in, and greener place to live in, for more people and wildlife to coexist. So this is the main question. The rising temperature in urban area and its impact on the urban biodiversity is often neglected. Discuss. Give your answers in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you like the video. Don't forget to give a like, comment and share. And to further not to miss any other content, subscribe to our channel. Thank you and have a nice day.